welcome all. Welcome to our podcast. I'm joined today by Andy and Mark. Hi.
Hey guys.
We're talking today about the hybrid PT, this hybrid PT model. Personally, to me, sounds a little bit like kind of RoboCop. Virtual side plus this human being sent back in time to make people thin. That's a good little concept there. So we're integrating this traditional sort of face-to-face PT with our virtual and great engagement. Start of lockdown, we saw lots of PTs and clubs kind of quickly move into that online training. When those gyms kind of closed down, we saw loads and loads of workouts and classes kind of getting put online, either by PTs themselves, just kind of taking their own initiative, or some gyms starting to set up certain elements there as well. Zoom, like we're on today, suddenly became kind of a household name, and even my mum, who never really turned on a laptop before, suddenly now can do this sort of stuff. So I think it's brought a whole different audience to that side of things. Gyms kind of opening back up. Some clients I think are a little bit reluctant to go back. Those that do often now find it's a little bit limited, either with how often they can train or the time restrictions that are in place with some gyms as well. So kind of as I mentioned, we're joined with the exceptional beard and Andy that goes along with it from Volution, and I'll get him to talk about a little bit about that in a second, and Mark, who probably almost does as many of these as I do now, as well, from the training room. So Andy, first of all,
hello. Yeah, nice. Thanks for having me today. So I've been in the industry for probably almost 20 years now, and I started off in the operations side, worked through all the different levels of management up to regional manager with Fitness First, Virgin Active, and a few private operators. And then I kind of jumped to the other side of the table and went into more of a sales role, worked for a few apps, software, hardware in the digital space in fitness, worked for Les Mills, and then ended up with Volution. So I like to think I've got a good amount of experience, both sides, operations, and also on this side with the digital. So yeah, that's me.
Oh, and so Volution, now that you're with it, what's kind of the concept of that?
So the big focus for us is data analytics, actually. And it sounds quite boring, a bit geeky, but actually it's delving into data to help businesses.
Stay away, Mark.
Yeah. To help businesses drive performance day to day with real-time data. So really, the idea is to have a platform that has all data from all your different platforms in one place in real time, so that they can customize it and have the right reporting, the right KPIs in front of them day to day. So depending on which management level you are, you get to see different types of data, whether it's reports, graphs, whatever it may be. But it's just being proactive with data, understanding it, highlighting red flags, highlighting trends within the data to help understand members better so that we can improve their experience in the club or also in the home.
Cool, good. Mark, I know you've been doing, obviously you're a tutor with us, but you also do your own kind of online training and things like that as well. Have you found the kind of communication gone over the lockdown and things like that? Have you found it changed much?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, it's changed massively. Because obviously, you've seen them. I used to see my clients with a mixture of online and in person. Usually, the online bit was the coaching bit, and I'd use probably something similar, probably not as advanced as what Andy's saying about the software. I'd use separate software, PT software, to help coach them remotely. But now a lot of the communication tends to be through apps, software, tech in general, as well as obviously when I'm training them in person, we're doing it over Zoom, or we're doing it over FaceTime, or we're doing it over an app. That's how it has changed. A lot of my clients are in the older demographics, so they've had to learn quite quickly. They've always had access to these apps and services that I've always provided that I probably find quite sexy and exciting, but I don't think my clients do as much. I think the importance of using software and having apps and all that sort of stuff. So that I'm seeing a bit more engagement in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that, Andy, looking at the clubs, do you find that age range is changing with the engagement and such?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the operator, right? Everyone has a slightly different demographic, but yes. And actually, something that was really stark recently with Anytime Fitness in Asia, of the members using the app, 50% of them were dormant before COVID. So actually, this app has enabled all these dormant members that potentially aren't motivated to get into the club and be really active to start doing activity online, which obviously that's going to lead to better retention down the road. So it's definitely a vehicle to help people with more barriers to doing fitness to start doing fitness at home in a safe space. And I think that's really valuable.
Okay, great. The kind of main things I was sort of looking at your playbook, as I kind of mentioned before. So do you want to give a quick kind of brief explanation of what that sort of is?
Yeah, we've tried to, after speaking to many operators, clients and prospects, lots of questions have arisen over the last 3 or 4 months. So what we've tried to do is create a playbook that answers all those questions that people are asking right now. So what is virtual engagement? What's member engagement? How do you set up some sort of virtual hub and virtual services for your gym? Understanding the analytics side of it. So really any questions that you have around any of that, it will be answered within this playbook. And the idea is really to educate. This is still quite new to a lot of people. Even though it has been around for several years now, there's only a small percentage of operators and trainers that have really embraced digital. So it's still new, and there's still a fair amount of education that's needed in the industry, I think.
I saw in there's one part that was mentioning the O2O model.
The what, sorry?
The O2O model.
Yep.
Yeah, the online to offline kind of model and how that's kind of produced.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, yeah. Any kind of, in terms of operators, how are you finding that sort of thing works?
So I think it's important that we have all aspects of your product, whether it's face-to-face, live streaming or on-demand content. All those different aspects of training are really important. They all complement each other really well. And what we see is that it's really important to have a consistency from at home in your on-demand and offline content to your live streaming and to your face-to-face. And it should be a journey. The on-demand content is actually the majority of what people do at home. Actually, there's an example, Peloton, 85% of the content they have is on demand, and that's being utilized by their members. Only 15% of it is actually live because people want to do it in their own time. So, but the importance is having that brand consistency from on demand to live streaming to face. So there's a journey for a member to start off doing little bits here and there whenever they feel they want to do it. Maybe trying a live stream class with a familiar face, and then getting into club and really getting into nitty and gritty and getting that face-to-face interaction. So that's really important for us. It's having that consistency and a really kind of strategic journey from home to live streaming to face-to-face.
Great. Mark, were your clients that you kind of had for the online side of it, were a lot of them using gyms as well? Or were they just really focused on the sort of either at home or...
A bit of both. They were probably more home-based outside. Probably maybe not that much difference, maybe a 60-40 split.
Right.
But obviously now I would say out of the small set of clients that I've got now, there's one pair that I train. They're the only people that are training back at a gym. Everyone else is still doing home workouts. People don't want to go to the gym. They want to carry on doing really the home workouts, and they've been utilising me. So if they were a member of a gym, as Andy was saying, if they were a member of a gym that had this facility, they'd probably still be paying to be a member there and carrying really their workouts, I think. Because I don't think, as you said, I don't think they're feeling comfortable going back into gym. I know my clients aren't.
No, they're not. No.
Yeah. How are you finding that working with the gyms, Andy, in terms of, how's their kind of almost retention rate kind of looking in terms of people coming back?
I think the average, what we're seeing and what I hear from the industry is 20 to 40% of membership has dropped out.
Right.
on average. So significant number. But also from an attendance point of view, even before lockdown, like 45% of the membership were infrequent casual users. So the engagement was necessary before COVID, but even more so now. So reduced capacities, reduced staffing means, less people in club. So it's really important to have something that's branded by your operations, with your staff, hopefully, your superstars in your club. They should be maybe leading this content, whether it's on demand or live streaming. There are some great other suppliers and apps out there that have some good content. However, have a good mix of that. Your own staff, your own PTs, they're really important to drive that engagement, because that's what your members know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's key. And me and Mark, we've spoken a lot about this in the past, haven't we? About having because we both do PT online and things like that. And in the past, we've used almost generic PT online programs and things. And you send a program, and your client comes back going, "Oh, who's that lady doing those exercises? And who's that guy doing the exercises?" And you're like, "Oh, I don't know. It's just a person." But and actually, as Mark actually pointed out to me a few months back now, that actually clients pay for you, they like you. So putting that back around into the club, I think, is massively key, in having the club staff and things like that doing it. Have you found that in terms of the online stuff and even the demand? I know you said there's a big split of people doing the on-demand rather than live classes. I teach live classes as well, and we use Zoom as it, because we found that our guys really like the interaction still between each other. Have you found that something that people have missed?
Yeah, I mean, we're social creatures, aren't we? At the end of the day, we really do like the interaction. So it's so important to have that. Maybe it's a bit of banter or competition, whatever it may be. That's so important to us, and it helps motivate us when we know we're going to have a bit of fun, or you're going to speak to somebody and catch up with somebody in that class. So going back a step, actually, fitness is a motivation game, right? The whole point we're here is to motivate people to exercise. If people could get up every morning and go for a run and do their exercise without us, then we probably wouldn't have a fitness industry. So motivation, I think, is the key to all of this. And we are motivated through interaction. So when we talk about virtual engagement, it's...
Oh, you've muted.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know how I did that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. It's replicating the interactive base online or through technology. So you're completely right there. If you can interact with other people in a live streaming class, I think that's vital.
Yeah. We found when we for myself personally, we do kind of a mixture. We do some of the live stream, we do some where we live stream it, but without the chat between everybody. That way we can record it and put it on our on demand.
Yes.
And we find that it's strange. On those ones that we record, everybody works so much harder because there isn't that chat in between. Everything's to time, everything's good. But again, they miss that communication. They miss that. Also,
so potentially, sorry, just on that though, there's other ways you can create that interaction. It doesn't even have to be with the activity. There's opportunities to do a quiz night, coffee morning, virtual coffee morning. Have maybe a podcast similar to this where you've got 10, 15 members actually just having a chat and talking about maybe their fitness goals or the latest trends. It doesn't always have to be through the activity. So
that's a great idea, and I think that's kind of thing too for anyone, whether it's individuals doing these type of things or grouped clubs, to add that as almost a timetable point, with the other classes or whatever it is it might be, is a good one. Feedback I got from on-demand classes was, if it was a bit hard, I just sat there and watched it till it was finished. I can't get away with doing that on the live ones. So
that's probably why it's more popular, right? But also with that, you'll find that the amount of time that members spend doing the content, you've alluded to it there, is very small compared to a live class. I think it's like 8 to 10 minutes is the average that someone will do the on-demand content before they get bored or just too tired, whatever it may be. The motivation is not quite there to keep going, is it?
And I think even with a live class, even if you can see them, they can't necessarily see you. It feels like they can. It feels like they'll know if I stop. Yeah, I
know what you mean. Yeah.
Mark, have you got any clients that you found that are, because a lot of these I feel are always sort of endurance-based classes, that type of thing. Whereas if you've got those guys or girls that are the heavy lifters, how do we find that engagement and kind of keep going? We're prompting to these sorts of things that they might not be able to necessarily do at home. Got any thoughts on those ones, Mark? 'Cause I know you like to lift big things up.
I think, unfortunately, it's really hard to do unless you've got an abundance of equipment. I think their workouts have had to change, so we've had to go to a more endurance method of training. Whereas a lot of my clients, no matter what age, I like getting them to swing as heavy as they can, kettlebells, and lift, no matter if they're a 65-year-old woman or whatever. I want them to feel like they feel powerful and things. But I think recently, just with that, they just don't have the capacity to do that. So I've never really had an issue of trying to get people to train harder and with heavier weights, just purely because they haven't got it. So you've got to be quite clever in the exercise combinations and using different tempos and things like that to make it harder.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that continued, because you started off that with saying, I like to make sure my clients swing. And I was thinking, hang on, where's this going? That's a different type of online training.
Hey, whatever motivates your clients.
Andy, how do you feel working with those type of clients, or the gyms? How are they finding the interaction going with those type of clients?
With the heavy lifters?
Yeah.
I think firstly, it's important to understand that it is a small percentage of people that we're dealing with. So it's not a massive issue. However, we still want those engaged, because actually in most cases, they're probably more motivated to get to the gym before COVID than most of the others, because they're learning a specific skill and they've got a goal in mind. So it's been hard. I know a lot myself. I do Olympic lifting and heavy lifting, and I ended up buying my own equipment, and it wasn't cheap, especially over COVID, and that was the only way around it. And I know a lot of other people in my shoes were the same. The ones that didn't have the kit or didn't have the space to do it, they had to adapt their training exactly how Mark said. It was doing more HIIT sessions, strength HIIT sessions, keeping it short and sharp, and really training the CV side of it, or strength endurance rather than heavy. But what was surprising, and I've spoken to a few people around this, is actually changing up your methodology and doing more HIIT strength endurance didn't affect their max lifts too much by the time they got back and started lifting a few weeks ago. And it was quite surprising, actually. You can still train at home and maintain a really good strength level, and just improve in other areas like your mobility or range of movement, So it was an interesting 4 months to test that side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, like you said, a lot of people now have bought so much kit for home as well. That almost enhances this whole hybrid breed as well, doesn't it? So as a PT, I might see you in the gym once a week, but I could also see you online with your own kit a couple of times as well.
Totally agree, but this is also why it's so important to have that strategy for digital as an operator. Because more and more people will train at home. Like you've said, they do have the kit. Everyone was sold out within the first month, weren't they, suppliers?
Yeah.
So we have to embrace that. We have to understand what our members want and how we can complement their training in the gym at home. So it's a really good point, actually. Yeah, it's something that's overlooked quite often.
Yeah, and I think from those conversations we just had, and you talking about obviously the coffee mornings before and the lifters, again, putting in, I'm not sure if the lifters will want to go for a nice coffee morning, but putting on something educational wise about the lifts that you could, if you've got the kit at home or you're in the gym, you can do the demos, they can watch, ask questions, even, banded based movements that's going to help with that mobility, and explaining why and things is a great way to keep that engagement going.
No, it's just a great way to hone in some of those weaknesses that we have, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're great at lifting heavy weights, but actually, can we improve our mobility? Is there technique? Are there wow, we can chunk the exercises and break them down into smaller, more manageable exercises that maybe are going to improve performance when we get back. So yeah, it's just thinking about it in a slightly different way, but using it as a positive to improve your weaknesses.
Yeah, cool. One of the other ones I saw in your playbook, which I like the idea of, is reward schemes for engagement. Do you want to expand a little bit on kind of that one?
Yeah, again, it just comes back to motivators. So finding ways to motivate people to be active. Myself, I'm an Apple Watch user, and actually it does motivate me each day. If I get a little message saying, oh, well, actually, you're usually a bit further ahead in your activity by this point of the day, do some training. I do it. But everyone's different. So finding different ways to motivate through data, whether it's building up points for activity, challenges and league tables on the app or in the gym, using those points to maybe buy nutritional products, equipment, money off secondary spend in your facility, whatever it may be. There's different ways we can motivate different personality types to keep coming back to the gym, or just being engaged with our brand, because now we know it doesn't have to be actually face to face. It can be engagement through the app, and that's enough to extend that retention. So it's rewards. I think people do, if it's relatable to something that motivates that person and they're getting something back for activity, it's hugely valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the other day, I don't often kind of post anything on social media or anything like that. I just kind of read it and let it go. But I signed up for courses the other day, and one of the things was you now get access to this Facebook page. We're giving prizes for at the end of each month for the people who either ask or answer the most questions, have the most engagement. And actually, I've been on twice now over 2 days and put a little post on. So I'm thinking, oh, hang on, I might get something at the end of this. So I think they do definitely work. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like the My Zone concept, isn't it? How many people get their bouts on? Because I find it really frustrating. I don't want to wear a belt. But how many people get those bouts on every day, get their Met points, try and beat each other in the league tables? Yeah. And then as an operator, there's no reason why you can't reward that in the gym and have a monthly table where your top 3 get a prize of some sort, whether it's nutrition or a PT session, whatever it may be. Yeah. But yeah, again, it's not everybody that's that competitive, so you have to find other ways to engage some of the less competitive members, but certainly rewards is the way forward.
Do you use rewards, Mark, for your clients, or is just seeing you every week the reward?
That's a given, isn't it? I have in the past, but unless you've got like a great system, probably what Andy's probably explained, it's quite hard to keep track. Mm-hmm. So I've used software and apps that have had this facilities, and when I've had a big client base, they've loved it, having a table. Even people that you wouldn't ever think they're competitive, they just know that just looking on the app and looking where they are on the table, it sort of motivates them a little bit more. Even if they're never going to be at the top, just going up a few spaces motivates them. And I've done silly little things of certificate, so like a list of things to do in a month, and then at the end of the month they get a little certificate, which is it's arbitrary, isn't it? It's like Andy said, I wear an Apple Watch, I've got a Whoop strap as well. I've just covered in. The numbers don't mean a thing, do they? They really, in the grand scale of things. But I shouldn't need to have a ring closed. But if my ring isn't closed by the end of the day, I start moving, and it doesn't mean, even if it's 5 calories. I'm doing this with my arm just to try and get the calories in, just to get the win of the explosion. So
I get my missus is like, Andy, why are you going up and down the stairs at 10 o'clock at night?
You're starting to forget things.
Well, with certificates, it was just it wasn't even a real certificate. It was like a PDF version with my branding, with everything ticked off and their name on it, and it's that little chufty badge, isn't it?
That's it. It's that little bit of recognition, isn't it? Yeah. Someone else recognising that actually I have been doing it, which is what people quite often want. The amount of times I think I quite often find it's very slim percentage of people that really do a lot of this stuff purely for them. They quite often do it for recognition from other people.
Extrinsic motivators.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what's quite interesting with that, just quickly, is the data behind it. That's really valuable too. So you can help that member progress with their training. I think again, across the board, operators aren't brilliant at progressing each member through their fitness journey. And once you've got that kind of data and activity overview, you can really hone in and be specific and bespoke towards that member's goals. So every conversation that each member of staff is having, in an ideal world, whoever the member of staff is, they can see that activity data within the platform and say, well, I can see you've been doing lots of running lately, you've done 10K yesterday, great, well done. And it's always really specific, but when the PT gets involved in that as well, they can really plan and strategize for that member. So that's really important. And I think that progression is often, again, it's another thing that's overlooked in clubs. You'll get a small percentage of PT users that get the progression, but everyone else kind of plateaus, and you're trying to find ways to motivate them to come back. So data is really key for that. But also, as a member, if you've got an overview of everything you're doing too, you're more likely to keep going and progress because you've got everything in one place rather than trying to sign into Strava, Runkeeper, MyFitnessPal, whatever it may be. Having lots of different apps to log into, it makes it really laborious and you're not motivated to do it.
Yeah.
So from that data analytics side, I think it's really valuable. Yeah.
And I guess with having that information as well, especially from club level, any of these challenges and things like that, you can push to those right people. Yeah, rather than just kind of saying, right, everyone this month, let's see how many steps you do. Because there'll be some people that go, brilliant, I'm off, Forrest Gumping it for the next month. And then you'll get other people that are like, I don't care how many steps I've done.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fine. It's a bit, I don't know if you've seen the app Sweatcoin. It's very similar. It doesn't
I've not seen that.
Whatever activity you do leads into coins.
Right.
But it's all with Apple. It doesn't matter. It's based on your heart rate with the watch. So it doesn't matter what activity you're doing. It's all leading to the same points. That's consistent to everybody.
Right.
So whether you're going to go for a run, lift some weights, go for a swim, go for a paddle, it doesn't matter. It's whatever motivates you to get that activity in. That's really important as well. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds good. Mark would like that, collecting coins. It's like Mario. You'd be Mario for a while.
Instantly thought that, unfortunately. I was like, oh, that's...
Yeah.
If there's a noise when you open the app, just like the Mario coins, then I'll be all over that.
Yeah. Go and collect a big mushroom when you get bigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Excellent. Good stuff. Now's the time to upsell then, I guess, for a lot of clubs.
I think we all know there's been a loss of revenue for operators, reduced capacity, obviously being closed for 4 months. That's going to lead to some financial issues. So finding ways to claw back that revenue is really important. I think when you've got more members engaged with a digital product, you can open up firstly your doors to more people. There's more prospects available. You have more chance of engaging more people, which means maybe more referrals. So more acquisition, so growth of membership, but also secondary spend. And off the back of what we were just talking about with data and understanding what they're doing, we can actually push the right products to the right members based on that. So whether it's the nutrition or at-home equipment or whatever it may be, programs, then there's a potential to push a secondary spend. It's a really difficult time. And I think over the next few months, we're going to see, unfortunately, probably some more operators that are going to fail because they don't have the right strategy moving forward, or they weren't in the right position before COVID financially to be able to sustain that. So it's so important to find ways to claw back some of that revenue. And personally, I would say this, but if you have that digital aspect to your business, it's just going to open up so many more doors.
At a kind of a glance over sort of the gyms and things like that, it does always seem like, and I could be wrong, but the less proactive clubs, when the initial kind of lockdowns and everything like that started, the ones that are really struggling coming out of it. Some of them were really proactive, putting things in place, which may not have been 100% at the time because everyone was learning from it, but they built on it and they built on it and built on it and come up with different ideas and strategies.
Yeah.
Have you found that looking at your sort of operators?
Yeah, there were a few operators that just adapted to the situation. they were agile, they brought in a product that ticked a box, but like you've just said, potentially it wasn't a long-term solution. So they got something in to tick those boxes. They've got some engagement from their members. They even clawed back some revenue during COVID. So there was definitely a selection of operators that did that pretty well. But also it's now given them an opportunity through those last 3-4 months to plan for the future for the next 12 months, 24 months. It's not just about now. So what's that strategy look like going forward? And I always say, think about the why behind everything you do. So those core business values are so important when you're looking at strategy and your next partnership with a brand. Does it align with your values? So that's a key outtake for me as an operator. But yeah, it's 12 months, 24 month, 36 month strategy around digital. What does it look like? Because you don't have to do it all now. It can be in stages, you know.
Yeah, it's like anything, isn't it? Even PT products, you build on them. You get what you want to get one bit right, or moving on to the next one, rather than trying to do everything at once.
Exactly,
I definitely though, and you know, from my point of view, and I see the digital side certainly being something that stays. I don't see it being something that we do for a bit of time and then it just fades out and goes back to how it was. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that one?
I think it's down to the industry. It's surprising how many members were training at home before COVID anyway. So from total membership in the UK, 85% of them were doing some sort of home workout before COVID. So they wanted to do it anyway. They're time poor and trying to do bits at home, and potentially the tools weren't there to do it effectively.
Yeah.
So now over the last 4 months, we've probably moved forward 2 years of evolution from the digital side in the last 4 months. So we actually do have those products in place now. So that 85% could be more. And for the non-members of throughout the UK and worldwide, there's going to be a lot more of those people training at home too. So it really depends how the industry embraces this and how operators do take the next step, because potentially, if we don't do it, it will revert back because they don't have the tools in place. But I think we're past that now. Yeah. I think if it's kind of there's enough operators now that have evolved their digital strategy to enable everyone else to look up and think, this is something I need to do now.
Yeah.
And like you alluded to earlier, those gyms that were struggling before COVID potentially won't be around moving forward. So it's a bit like the survival of the fittest, isn't it? I think those ones that aren't ready to move forward and keep going after COVID, they're the ones that are probably going to fall away, and we'll have a different breed of hybrid clubs moving forward.
Yeah. Cool. What are your thoughts on that, Mark?
No, I totally agree. I think I'm quite a techie guy. I mean, I'm wearing 2 straps for. I mean, what person wears 2 things at once for 2 different bits of information? So I'm all over, like data and stuff. For me, it's like sexy as hell. I'd want how many hours I've slept, how many calories, what I worked, everything. And I've been embracing it for years, but it seems like the industry hasn't embraced it. I don't know if Andy's probably feeling the same.
100%.
And hopefully this has opened their eyes that I think operators I've found over the past, I've been in the industry just as long as Andy, I think the days are gone of opening up a facility, putting equipment in there and just expecting people to turn up, because that's what everyone's got, isn't it? So having that digital product where you're hitting them from all angles, from at home, workouts, nutrition, the challenges, as well as the gym, that's what's going to keep, I think, businesses going. And anything like this happens again, which they say will do, then at least then you've got a robust business, haven't you? Whereas I think some, as Andy said, some operators are just going to go because they've just not embraced it, and they're quite arrogant, aren't they? You think how many companies up and down, like around the world, like BlackBerry's a really good one. I know it's not fitness. The iPhone was nothing, wasn't it? It's just a little toy that no one's going to use. People that use BlackBerry aren't going to use an iPhone, and then there we go. They don't really exist anymore. So I think gyms that take that attitude, or operators that take that attitude, they're going to be like the dinosaurs, aren't they? They're going to be extinct, because you need everything, don't you? You need your fingers in all pies to really to hit everything.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah.
People are spending the money on tech, aren't they? Spending money on the watches, all your bands and things that you've got going up your arm, Mark. You know, they want to make use of it. So they want a gym that can utilise that as well. all the apps and things. So yeah, makes sense, doesn't it? Makes
I
sense.
think you've just got to look at what members' behaviours are like in the gym too. How many people do you see on the phone in the gym?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Like literally every person is on it. Give them a reason to be on it.
Yeah.
They're probably sat on Facebook and Instagram taking pictures, but give them a reason. Give them your app. Give them some challenges and workouts, whatever it may be, and engage them that way. But also, I think you hit the nail on the head, Mark, because Kodak is another example. They had the opportunity to go digital. They turned it down. They were the biggest firm in camera photography, and now they're no more. Blockbuster's another one, had the chance to go digital with Netflix. Now look at them. So we've seen it around us over the last 10 years happen around us, and now we're kind of surprised that it's happening to the fitness industry. So
Perfect. Cool. Brilliant. I like that. Enjoyed that. We're going to leave it there. We're going to leave it there. That's a good little chat. So thank you for joining us, Andy, on that.
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you again, Mark.
You're welcome. Always here for you.
Yeah, no doubt we could probably extend this further on another future one, but for today, we will leave it there. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.